the matter? What up? Today's book of the day is The Four Agreements. This is a killer book. I read it. I honestly read it, I think, a couple of years ago, and I had it laying around here and have not looked at it for some time. And to be honest, I only read it today because it's like 2 in the morning, now 3 in the morning, and I didn't feel like spending a lot of time reading a book. It's really small. You go through it. I went through it in less than an hour, and yeah, you could totally blast through this thing. And it's not a retard book. I avoided this book because I thought it'd be a retard book. That'd be stupid. It'd be superficial. Like it's a pretty big, popular book in culture. Maybe not in culture. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but between self-help book readers, it's a very popular one. And as a result, I was like, oh, that's for artards, and it's for the unthinking masses, so I don't want to read it. But I sat down and read it, and it's some pretty good stuff. Um, there's not much more I'm going to cover than like probably any other book summary he's going to cover. He has four agreements. Basically, the premise of the book is, like many spiritual teachings, we're all asleep. We're all lacking a deep amount of awareness, and many of our belief systems, our ideas, are what is his name? Don Miguel would call. He called it. He had a very good name for it. He called it the domestication of humans. And basically, as children, like dogs, how we domesticate dogs, we domesticate children. We train them to act a certain way. We scold them if they don't. As a result, you grow up and you act a certain way, and you have fear that pops up within your body if you don't act that certain way. And I'm not gonna get into like the origin of this, and like it's technically like Toltec or Toltec freaking like heritage and blah 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 blah. I'm not gonna get into it. I'm just gonna get into the principles and how you could apply this into your life. But essentially, we're asleep, and we need to like break through, wake up, and that's what everyone's seeking. He points out that everyone's seeking basically freedom, love, and beauty. I don't know if I totally buy into like some of these like fortune cookie philosophy type deals, but there's some truth to it. There's a lot of truth to it. So the four agreements are essentially are based off of one agreement, which is be impeccable with your word. And be impeccable with your word means basically don't lie to your others, and most importantly, don't lie to yourself. Um, a quote from the book is, the first agreement is the most important one, is the most difficult one to honor. It is important um, that with just this first agreement, you'll be able to transcend to a level of existence I call heaven on earth. The first agreement is to be impeccable with your word. It sounds very simple, but it's very powerful. Impeccable means without sin. Impeccable comes from the Latin, which means sin. Impeccable means without. So impeccable means without sin. I'm not even get into like all this crap, but basically, um, do what you say. Do what you say, and the promises you make yourself and to others. The second agreement is don't take anything personally. It's pretty self-explanatory. Essentially, like, people are going to say stuff, things are going to happen. Don't take it personal. A big point that I should probably point out, that he points out in the beginning of the book, is that he says that like everything is a mirror to us, and we forget that like the world is a mirror to us. So people may say fucked up things to you, but that's really a mirror reflecting back at them. And notice whatever comes up in your mind, like that's just a mirror reflecting you. Whatever you see, like there was a really cool quote I liked that I heard someone who was running workshops say, and they were talking about the shadow, which is like a projection. It's the same idea that we're projecting our reality at all times. But they talk about like when you see character defects, or you see traits with someone that are not pretty, not nice, or they're pretty or nice. It actually goes both ways. Traits that are good and traits that are bad. You see that within someone. That's about you. And like, to be real, like that person's probably expressing at least 46 different traits at any given moment in time, and you pinpointing one of those traits or maybe two of those traits, and you probably are only pinpointing one. I'm being really kind saying you might pinpoint two at one point. Is more of a reflection on you than anything else. And that's like just always really powerful to remember. um, and it's also like good to remember that like really nothing other people do is really because of you. It's because of themselves. And like this book has a big philosophy of like, it's just like take responsibility for yourself. um, Again, nothing other people do is because of you, it's because of themselves. Really powerful. um, Third agreement: don't make assumptions. In the book, I'm quoting the book right now, we have a tendency to make assumptions about everything. The problem with making assumptions is that we believe that they are truth. We could swear they are real. We make assumptions about what others are doing or thinking. We take it personally, then we blame, and then we react by sending emotional poison with our word. This is why when we make assumptions, we're asking for problems. We make assumptions we must understand, we take personally, and we end up creating a whole big drama for nothing. So this is a channel that's like dedicated towards pickup, towards dating, towards self-development, social dynamics, social engineering. And this is like, so like all this stuff is just so applicable. It's applicable in all areas of life, just like everything else, that like all these type of principles towards success or anything like that. But like we make assumptions, we take things personal, and really it's like when we let go of these things, like the best thing that happens is like when you stop taking assumptions, you stop like judging yourself, you stop like taking things personally. Guess what? You have a ton more energy, you're a lot more happier, you're not getting in negative spaces like fear, and you're able to express your, what we call true self, yourself before you decided, before you got all these belief systems, and as like this guy would say, before you became a domesticated human, which basically is maybe your 4-year old self, 3-year old self, 2-year old self. And when that self comes out, people love that. People are attracted to that. That's when people see that and like they say like they see the best in you, but like because they're a mirror, that's like their best as well. Like this kind of gets a little like spiritual hippy dippy here, but like we're all one type deal. Then like I don't know, I'm not gonna go too far down that road because sometimes it just loses people a little too far. But the last, and I for me, I like value this agreement is do your best, and basically I'm quoting him: under any circumstance, always do your best. No more, no less. Keep in mind that your best is never going to be the same from one moment to the next. Everything is alive and changing all the time. So your best will sometimes be high quality, and other times it will not be good. That's cool. I'm not gonna even mark too much on there. It's just like pretty self-explanatory. He makes some good points on it. Um, I like looked, probably best part of this book is like great. Those are pretty self-explanatory things that he gives some points on. But the best is actually the end of the book when he talks about like great, like be impeccable with your word, bro. Now like it's not like you haven't fucking ever heard of that. And like if someone told you that, or even if you told yourself, all right, that's what I'm doing for the rest of my life, like chances are like you've fallen off that horse, and like why aren't you impeccable with your word today? You might have said that to yourself a year ago. You might have even fucking read this book and like a long time ago, like myself. But why am I not impeccable with my word? And he talks about this like at the end of the book, and it's basically like there's like he said, we're looking for ways to get free. And this is like one of the ways to get free. We have a bunch of garbage, a bunch of programming, a bunch of belief systems, and he's giving us new belief systems that help us set us free. And you know that path to freedom. He laid out basically three paths to freedom. He laid out a very slow one. The first one, which is basically you go fear by fear and you face it. I like that one personally. I like that one the most. The last one, which is the quickest one, is basically you're faced with death. That one's not a good one. If you like want to get free and like you want a quick way, go get cancer, and maybe it's actually a slight minimum, not too likely that you'll get free. Some people are like, oh shit, I'm about to die, and stop tripping about stuff. That's not the majority, and I haven't seen too many people like that, so I can't even comment on that. The next one was like basically a lot like the first one, which is you look at your belief systems and you chop that down belief system by belief system by belief system. They're slow, painstaking processes, and like he has emphasized that I'm again quoting him. Basically, this process can't start without awareness. We need awareness to do this, and this is gonna be like a. You have to be patient with this process to happen. I'm going to quote him here. I like this one. There are many strong beliefs in the mind that make this process look hopeless. This is why we need to go step by step and be patient with ourselves, because this is a slow process. The way you are living now is the result of many years of domestication. You cannot expect to break the domestication in one day, probably, or 1 year, or maybe even a few years. He had a really cool little like quote on meditation here. I'm a big fan of meditation. I spend probably too much time doing it, and he talked about like the guy coming up to the spiritual guru, the teacher, and he's like, teacher, teacher, if I meditate 4 hours a day, when will I transcend myself? And the teacher's like, 10 years, maybe. And he's like, well, teacher, teacher, what happens if I go meditate for 8 years? I mean, if I meditate for 8 hours a day? And the teacher's like, probably like 20 years. And like the student's like, what the fuck? Like, I just like, I'm gonna double down the effort. Shouldn't it be like at least half, maybe less? And the teacher's like, nah, you probably are going to miss the point by doing all that meditation. He's like, you're probably best off doing 2 hours of meditation, and you'll find through that process you could still learn to love and be happy and free and like enjoy a great life. And if you do like more meditation, you're probably going to miss the entire point of the process, and you're not even living life when you're spending 8 hours of your day meditating. I don't know. I'm not necessarily agreeing with that or anything. It was a cute little story. Um, Again, I'm pretty exhausted. There's probably could go look up some better reviews on this. There's also some great prayers on this. Um, I don't know. So like, how is this like? I read this book. I read a bunch of books. I'm looking at this and like sometimes when I'm like doing this, I wonder what the fuck? Like, I could point the camera right now to a stack of books next to me, and like, what the fuck good does that do? Like knowledge could be a killer. Like this book points out, like all those beliefs, I accumulate a lot of knowledge, a lot of beliefs, a lot of ideas about shit, but actually that could create a bigger prison for me, a bigger jail. And what good is reading all this stuff if you're not applying it? What good is it if you're not like yeah, there's some good in like accumulating some knowledge, like don't get me wrong, I'm not totally going black and white thinking here, but like a book like this, like I don't want to just read it, but I want to like apply it in my life. And personally, this is like a type of book, I have friends that like literally this is like they only read 100 books and they keep rereading books. Some of them only have like 10 books and they just keep reading 10 books, and or they like touch this book at least once a day and kind of look at it and try to integrate it into their life and their brain and their behavior. um, I personally probably won't touch that book for another 3 or 4 years, but there's processes, like this book mentions, there's processes about like facing your fears. There's processes of like looking at your belief systems and like slowly checking them out. Is it useful? Is it helping you out? Is it even like close to true? And maybe you don't even want belief systems that are close to true. You're just looking for belief systems that are helpful. I'm totally believing that shit. I think it's great. um, my roommate like saying your beliefs are your bitch. and I think I told him that one. I probably grabbed that one from someone else, but yeah, the process. There's a process I have, and like that's what I'm kind of suggesting is like I'm a big believer in doing things you're afraid of. I'll be probably coming out with like some videos, more recent, in the near future of like me doing some crazy outlandish shit, like just like social experiment stuff, like this stuff that's getting popular on YouTube, just like social experiment type stuff. But like right now, I'm doing that type of stuff, not getting filmed. And like I think there's a big difference of when you're getting filmed and not getting filmed. Because when you're not getting filmed, um, when you're getting filmed, you could be like, "This is a joke. This is a prank." You don't take identity to it. It's like pick up like if you're getting filmed, it's like almost an act. But like there's a certain point where like your ego starts identifying with you. You're not getting filmed. This is you being you. If you're going up and doing a pickup, like, and you get rejected, you're getting rejected for you. And like that's how the mind is. I'm not saying you should look at it that way. This is probably a poor belief system to look at it. But like doing those things is like scary as shit. And once you start doing it, you're facing your fears. And guess what? When you start doing it, you're not afraid of it if you do it on a regular basis. And then you're walking around with an immense amount of freedom. And I don't know. Once you start becoming a habit of like having that much freedom, you walk around and you start seeing people in the day to day with their people with like lack of freedom, people that are pretty much generally not too happy. And I don't know. I'm guessing I'm going on a 3 a.m. ramble right now, but I'm a big believer in the looking at your belief systems, analyzing them. There's some really cool technologies out there. There's some books I got. I guess this one I'm a big fan of NLP, really, and yeah, looking at your belief systems, looking at your frames, and doing things you're afraid of every day. Like every book kind of points into that direction. Do shit you're afraid of every day, like it's your fucking religion. And I'm just rambling at this point. Peace. Coming with you tomorrow. I forget. I think I'm giving you a Ross Jeffries book tomorrow. So, out.